Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Markey.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
This is a bad bill. It's basically the first step of a two-step process, which we are going to see within this Congress. The first step is put the EPA on a starvation diet. Squeeze down the amount of money they have to clean up Superfund sites. That's what this bill does. Meanwhile, at the same time, in the Commerce Committee, there's a Superfund gutting bill, which does at least two things, but more. One, it puts a cap of only 125 more sites that can ever be cleaned up under Superfund. Ever. Only 125. There's at least 1,200 or 1,500 more sites in the country, but that's all it'll be. 125. And secondly, it gives polluter rebates. It's the Ed McMahon Polluters Clearing House Sweepstakes. The Superfund bill in the Commerce Committee says to polluters, congratulations. You may have already won millions of dollars in fabulous cash rebates. All you have to do is wait for Congress to pass that bill that's in Commerce right now, and soon our prize van will be on its way to your corporate headquarters with a rebate check in hand to pay you for cleaning up sites that you willfully or negligently polluted in the past, draining out all the remaining money that's in Superfund. So think of this as the 1-2 punch, finishing off Superfund once and for all. Drain the revenues here so that we can't clean up any of the existing sites that are on the list, sorry, and then put a cap on any future sites in the next bill coming down the line. We must vote no here so that we can have the full debate we need on what the responsibility is of the government of this country to clean up these neighborhood nightmares across the country.
Gentleman from California.
The centerpiece of this proposal is still embodied in the Republican appropriations bill. In it is included a provision taking $861 million over the next year and making it available to give back to polluters who have already accepted responsibility for their pollution and their responsibility to clean it up. Now, here's how it works. If you happen to have been a polluter, congratulations to you. You may already have won millions of dollars in cash prizes from the grand old party, the Ed McMahon Polluters Clearing House Sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Just wait for this appropriations bill to pass, enacting reforms. And pretty soon, the EPA Superfund prize van will pull up to your corporate headquarters and hand you a corporate check, a federal government taxpayer check for you if you can identify yourself as a polluter. Here's how it works. Number one, is your toxic waste dump listed on the Superfund site on the national priorities list? In other words, are you one of the worst polluters in America? You must answer yes to that question to qualify for this federal money. Number two, did you incur cleanup costs since they introduced their bill last October? That is, if you were there on October 18th as a polluter, you qualify for this money. Number three, was your liability attributable to activities which occurred prior to 1987, that is after the Superfund bill passed in 1981, so that in fact we knew that, and you knew that the Superfund law was on the books? And have you accepted responsibility in a court-ordered consent decree in which you've already agreed to accept liability to clean up the site yourself? If you qualify under all of those standards, then you are a grand prize winner as a polluter. You qualify for the $861 million a year billions of dollars over the next decade, which can be and will be given out to polluters. Now, this, it seems to me, is an absurdity. We do not have $861 million a year for a new program to hand over to polluters when we're cutting Medicare, when we're cutting student loans, when we're cutting every other social program. And we can't have this program pile up to $6 and $8 billion over the next decade, gobbling up what limited resources we have as we target the year 2002 for a balanced budget.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Then they look at the Superfund program. As you know, we have hundreds of sites across this country where polluters in the 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they just dumped their chemicals into the water, into the ground, near neighborhoods, turning the whole neighborhood into a neighborhood nightmare. But more importantly, putting the children in those neighborhoods at risk, because the water that they drank, the dirt which they might have been playing in, it came back to haunt communities. And so the Superfund program was put into place. It's not perfect. It needed to be reformed, and the Democrats were more than willing to work to ensure that the imperfections were corrected. But that wasn't the objective of the Republican Party. Their objective was to destroy the Superfund program. In fact, they constructed something which I call the Ed McMahon Polluters Clearing House Sweepstakes, which meant that if you were a polluter, if you had already in a court of law or in an administrative proceeding accepted legal responsibility for having polluted a neighborhood, and you had already cleaned it up, you'll get a rebate from the federal taxpayer. And it will be half of all the money which we as taxpayers put in to the Superfund program. We give the money to the polluters who had accepted legal responsibility.